Hey guys, it's time for genealogy. Okay, now I have some notes, then we'll go over these. I want to look up some of these sites to see if they still exist, because a lot of URLs, which is website, don't exist anymore. The Family History Project Ireland, the Scots, Irish, and the Clearances, which is part of Gen UK, which still does exist. Interestingly, there is a Cunard Lines archive. Now, for those who don't know, the Cunard line was the ships. Well, it was the cruise company that owned the Titanic and the Britannic, which was the Titanic's sister ship that also sank. I would not want to be on a Cunard boat. Ship. But they have an archive. And I do want to see if it still exists. There's another Irish one, which is too complicated to read out loud, but I also found some Irish societies here in the United States. One is the Irish Society, one is the Irish Genealogical Society in New Bedford, Massachusetts. The Irish Family Name Society in La Mesa, California, the American Irish History Society in New York City, the Irish American Cultural Institute in St. Paul, Minnesota, the Irish American Cultural Association in Chicago, and the Irish Heritage Foundation in San Francisco. Under French Canadian, of course, you have the French Canadian Genealogical Society. They said Pawtucket. It's actually in Woonsocket. I've been there. There's a lot of my information. Actually, I don't want to do that because those are going in the trash. There's also the American the Federation of Franco-American History Society, Manchester, New Hampshire. American Genealogy Lending Library was another site I found in the books. And the Collateral Family Study. Collateral family can be people who were relatives by marriage and aren't anymore, or even close friends of your family that know about your family. That's collateral family. And that may be something I go into in studying patients. It also can be more distant family. There's the International Vital Records Handbook, which is at bookstore.gpo.gov. If it's still /locations/index. Again, I don't know. And vitalrec.com. Again, I don't know if these still exist. And again, I pulled out several forms. I'm going to keep these so that I can look up. These are trash. So that I can look up the sites and see if any of them still exist. Now, these came from that book that I got from the Professional Genealogist. We actually had that book at one time. And what I did was I filled them out as examples. Okay, for instance, this one is biographical outline of the life of fill in the blank. In this case, I used my father's maternal grandmother, Parmelia Bordeaux. Yes, that was her name, Parmelia. She was born in 1880, died about 1960. She died of stomach cancer at the age of 80. We have her death certificate and oral history. We know she was born in 1880 because we have her birth certificate and census records. She married David Hemingway and had Angelina Delia, who was actually Ida Delia, David, and Josephine. She had other children that died as babies. We do have them in our genealogy once. Marceline. There were maybe 3. And her sister, Anna, married her husband, David Hemingway's brother, Judson Hemingway. So, now, these are as if I were interviewing my parents. Before I get to that, I did a research planning worksheet for Patience Burgess' great-grandmother. Questions I have. Who was her family? And that's it. I already have something like that started for her, so I don't need that either. These are as if I were interviewing my parents, each in a different decade, for a different decade. My father for the 50s and my mother for the 60s when they were children. Okay. Anyway, in 1950, how old were you? He was 6 years old. How many members of your family? There were 5. Mom, Dad, brother David, age 3, brother Richard, age 1. They lived in Manchog, Massachusetts. Did they own their home? No, they rented it. It was a mill house. And I forgot to put the E on house. Sometimes I write faster than I think. They asked what amenities you had. They had electricity. That's about it. Were you in school in this decade? Yes, he was in elementary school at the Manchog School. His father worked at the dump. When did he get his first job? 1960. Did he have a job as a teenager? Yeah, he had a job as a child delivering newspapers. What did he do for activities? He rode his bike and fished. They did not have television. He bought his mom her first TV in 1965, and he was very proud of that. Did you listen to radio? Yes. Favorite artist? Gene Pitney. Were you an Elvis Presley fan? Kind of. Did you go to drive-in movies? In the 60s. Did you go to drive-in movies? And I said in the 60s. What fads or fashions did you enjoy? He talked about slicking his hair back with like hair cream, like purposefully making it look greasy. And that was a 50s fad that he did. They asked if he had ever flown, even before the first time he flew, even before the 1950s. I don't think my father ever flew. I could be wrong. Because he could have flown out to California to see his sister. I don't know with 100% certainty on that. I know his brother has flown a number of times. I want to say he did fly to see his sister. I do want to say that, but I don't know it for certainty, so I said I don't think so. Did you get an allowance? No! What big news events did you watch on TV? They didn't have a TV. Was anybody in the military during Korea? No, his dad was World War II. And I don't know what his reaction would have been at the outbreak of the Korean War, or if he even would have known the difference. Because he was only between 6 and 8 years old. Well, 6 and 9 years old during the Korean War, so I don't think he would have known the doggone difference. What significant event happened in the 50s in your life? His paternal grandparents passed away. He had freedom. He was safe to be out. He could be out riding his bike. What characterized the 50s. So that was for Dad. I'm going to keep... No, I'm not going to keep that. I'm not going to keep these because they were just examples. The 60s was Mom, and she was 6 years old in 1960. She had Mom, Dad, and 5 siblings. So there were 7 people at home at the time. The youngest hadn't been born yet. He wasn't born until 63. She lived in Fayette, Maine, and Livermore Falls, Maine. Did your family own its home? Yes. I have no idea what it was bought for because my grandfather owned it before my grandparents were together. And then, yes, they did rent. They rented from my grandmother's brother, but I don't believe he actually charged them rent. She was in elementary school, at Fayette Central School. What grade of school did you complete? She graduated high school and went to some college. My dad did not graduate high school. That wasn't a question on his. He quit when he turned 16, which was the middle of 9th grade. So it asked if there were any dress or behavior expected of students. And I distinctly remember my mother telling me this. Skirts must be below the knee. They would literally make you kneel and measure your skirt. What jobs did you... Okay. Her dad was a lumberjack and a dairy farmer. What did you do for recreation and entertainment? Music. What was your favorite toy, game, pastime? She didn't have any. She didn't really watch television. What family rules? Oh, that says pertain to dating. I thought it was just the general family rules. Bed by dark, mini farm chores. Were they hippies or flower children? No. Meaning anybody in the family. Did you get an allowance? No. Both were asked if they attended church and how important that was. They both did, every Sunday without fail, and my mother was very important. She attended church and VBS, which for those who don't know stands for Vacation Bible School. What social or civic activities? Grange Hall activities, like dances and stuff. The Grange Hall was a big part of their lives. The only one of these major 1960s events that my mother might have seen is Apollo 11, because it was in 69, and they had no TV or electricity at home, but by 69 she was at a foster home and did have TV and electricity. So it is possible, because I know during that time period she was watching Bewitched, and she said, I remember when it turned to color. Were any of her family members in the Vietnam War? No. World War II and Korea. What first occurred in the 60s for you? Vote, job, child. First job is what I circled. Neighborhood Youth Corps. She worked at her school when she was in high school. What significant events occurred in your life in the 60s? She went into foster care. How would you describe? How would you characterize the 1960s in the life of the country and your personal life? Tumultuous. So, now they also have World War II in the 40s, the pre-1930s period, and the Depression era, which I haven't done because I don't know those answers from those family members. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it gave you a little insight into me, into my family. And I will keep you updated on Eleanor, who is my DNA match that I am now officially in contact with, who's in this rabbit hole with me. So, and I'm so glad. Thank you, Mom. I know that you are helping me every step of the way with this. And you do, Dad. I always said, when you go up there, you tell me who she was, and I think you are. You know, and they both joked that when they got to heaven, the first thing they were going to do, they both said this, was ask their grandmother who the heck ask his grandmother who the heck she was. So, but, thank you. God bless you. Have a wonderful rest of your day. I am going to go edit now because I want to look these sites up, see if any of them still exist, and I want to, and I have the wrestling video to edit, so I have 3 videos for the day. I will see you tomorrow. And tomorrow will be a Kid Missing video. I'm also going to work on February today. I have plenty of time to do that while I'm editing and watching TV and whatever. Oh, and I meant to tell you, this has nothing to do with genealogy, but I meant to tell you, and I keep forgetting to tell you in the daily journals, but I've been going down a dark web rabbit hole on YouTube, and probably my favorite creator in that is Crypto NWO. His name is Kevin. He's from Windsor, Ontario, Canada. He is Middle Eastern. From what I was able to gather by researching Assyrian, which is the language that he speaks outside of English, because he was born in Canada. His parents were not. His father was born in Iraq. I don't know about his mother. It is a group and a language spoken by a group from the Middle East that are highly persecuted. So I'm guessing that his parents left the Middle East, emigrated to Canada to be able to give a better life to their children. And, you know, because they were a persecuted people, especially by their Muslim neighbors, from what I was able to gather in doing research, because I wanted to know what ethnic group spoke Assyrian, and it sent me down a rabbit hole of research, and I was able to find that out. I'm glad that they're in a free country where, you know, their son can live his dream, their daughter's living her dream. They're both YouTubers, and from the looks of his house, doing very well for themselves, and I'm so glad. Nobody deserves to be persecuted. So, like I said, that had nothing to do, well, I guess it does have to do with genealogy, come to think of it, just not my own personal genealogy. So, thank you so much. God bless you, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye, guys.